school recently banned messaging apps on their smart devices. And when they did this, they assumed that they put an end to all the cyberbullying that was taking place on group text specifically. Of course, there's no way to end bullying, but they realized that digital communication made it easier for teenagers to say awful things to one another that they would never say in person. I'm sure no one on Twitter has ever experienced this. Now, back to the school. Their well-meant strategy, it backfired. Kids began to use Google Docs to create shared documents about their peers where anyone could write anything anonymously. At least on the group text, they had to use their real names. But on Google Docs, they could have total anonymity. They could say anything without anyone knowing. And the best part was that no teachers or parents could find the documents. If they ever did find the documents, they'd simply delete the old one and start a new one in a subfolder no one could find. Of course, we could just take away the devices, but many of us are convinced that positive uses for teenagers outweigh the device's toxic effects. We also think that with the right filters and controls, well, we can keep things under control. In 1985, Neil Postman mourned the naivety of those who believed they could curtail the influence of television and protect literate culture. One person turned the top of their TV into a bookcase that they needed. Someone else said that their TV was the best source of light for their schoolwork. But despite these fights against the influence of television, Postman concludes this: I bring forward these quixotic examples of television to ridicule the hope harbored by some that television can be used to support the literate tradition. Such a hope represents exactly what Marshall McLuhan used to call rear-view mirror thinking, the assumption that a new medium is merely an extension or amplification of an older one, that an automobile, for example, is only a fast horse, or an electric light a powerful candle. To make such a mistake in the matter at hand is to misconstrue entirely how television redefines the meaning of public discourse. So television doesn't extend or amplify literate culture, it attacks it, according to Postman. Of course, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to limit the negative effects of devices on our teenagers: anxiety, depression, suicidality, sleeplessness, and loneliness. But the problem is that our solutions to those problems, they tend to ignore the structure of the medium. Let me give an example. A friend of mine recently suggested that getting rid of teenage smartphones at dinner and then taking them away after 9 o'clock might resolve many of the problems that smartphones cause. Now, I agree. These are really helpful steps, both for teenagers and for parents. And as a rule, I try to follow those rules personally. They help me stay more sober. But the problem with this solution is that it's modeled on how TV works. He's assuming that the smartphone is basically an extension of the television. Here's what I mean. If you turn off the TV, its influence is simply gone. Yes, the shows continue as scheduled, but that doesn't matter so long as you're not watching it. And that's because TV is a synchronous medium. It happens in time and over time. Social media and messaging are asynchronous. You might not check your text or your Google Doc for 3 hours, but whenever you do, it's still there. In fact, the possibility that something could be there is part of what makes it so addictive. We release more dopamine when we anticipate a reward than when we receive a reward. Because TV is synchronous, it's happening in time, it's possible that you could turn on the TV and find nothing interesting. You might spend a ton of time searching through channels trying to find something interesting. That's because a human makes the schedule, and you're stuck with whatever that human scheduler gave you to watch. Even with streaming, you still have to find something that you want. But that's not the case with messaging. The messages are there when you wake up, even if you took away your kid's phone. And that's also not the case with social media platforms. They're powered by sophisticated recommender algorithms that not only scrape your data, but use what they scrape from you to deliver you exactly what will keep you glued to your screen. This means that the apps that your kids are using are highly addicting in ways that not even a TV can compete with. So even when you take away the smartphone, your teen is probably experiencing ghost vibrations and alerts in their pocket. They're thinking about what might be happening while they're gone, and they're mentally distracted by the craving they're experiencing to get another hit of the smartphone. TVs are different in another way. They're big, and I know that's prosaic, so I hesitate to say it, but it matters. Sneaking a TV into your room when you're not supposed to have it is a bit of a feat. A smartphone, not so much. And this principle is bigger than secret late-night Instagram binges. Every parent I talk to has given their child a smartphone has at least one story about how their child worked around their rules, their filters, their systems to get what they wanted. So you can try your best to keep the digital syringe under lock and key with fancy routers and filters and controls, but you're forgetting that your child is addicted to their smartphone, and your child will act like an addict. Postman knew the secret to resisting TV's influence. You just get rid of your TV. The same thing applies when it comes to teenage smartphone use. Stop treating it like a little TV you think you can control. Treat it like what it is, a highly addictive device that's dangerous to your teenager's mental health. If that means you need to throw it away, then please love your kid enough to throw it into a dumpster. If that means you never give them the phone to begin with, then please love your kid enough to protect them.